Better get under cover, Sylvester. There's a storm blowing. A whopper! Welcome, everyone, to the wide open prairies of Kansas. We are just outside of the town of Liberal, which really could stand for anywhere in Kansas, and that's sort of the point. Because in 1981, the town of Liberal declared that they were the official home of Kansas's most famous fictional character, Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. And so they came out here outside of town, grabbed a house that sort of looked like the one from the movie, set it up as an attraction to lure in tourists and visitors like us. And here it is, Dorothy's house and the land of Oz. I wouldn't say I'm the world's biggest Wizard of Oz fan, but I am a fan. I'm not a barbarian. So I'm pretty excited to visit Auntie Em and Dorothy's house. After all, be it ever so humble, there's no place like home. I guess we enter through this more noble home. Dorothy must have smuggled back some emeralds from Emerald City. So apparently tours of the house are guided, and first they want you to check out this historical museum in the big house. A lot of cool exhibits in here, including a broom press, which is something I've never seen before. I'm starting to feel left out. Everyone has a buffalo head but me. 30 minutes till the next tour, so I think I'll bide my time weighing some chili peppers. Now, normally these tours are led by girls dressed as Dorothy. Today's intended Dorothy didn't show up, and the other Dorothy that was here didn't have her dress, so they offered to let me wait until another Dorothy showed up to get the full experience, but I said, nah, to heck with it. Let's go in and see Dorothy's house. She just told me to watch out. If there's a tornado, don't run into this storm cellar. This one's only 4 inches deep. Good to know, although I think we're all right today. Ooh.
Over here at the Auntie Em and Uncle Henry's room, there's a chamber pot down by the bed, and then on the bed there's a starch collar that was said to keep the men awake in church since it pinched the side of their necks as they would doze off. Here's our Victrola. It's powered by the crank on the side. To make it louder you can open this, and to make it softer you can close it. And then keep their extra records down there so Toto couldn't get a hold of them. There's Dorothy's room. There's her slippers and her suitcase for running away. The twister in the window, and Toto was asleep on his bed since he's tired from the last tour.
Aw. So that's it in the movie.
Yeah.
Pretty close. Pretty close.
Here is our irons. That one was heated by gas or kerosene, this one by coal, and this one was a stove top. You'd place turfs on the stove at a time and switch them out as they cooled. Here's our Hoosier cabinet. Some of them were lined with metal or tin and was said to keep the mice and insects out, but it really didn't. So every time there was a mouse, you'd hear that noise, and that's when Auntie Em would send Uncle Henry to come grab the mouse. There's our incubator. That one there could hold 300 eggs at a time, and they'd turn their eggs twice a day for 21 days, and then they'd hatch, and they'd mark an X on one side so they know if they turn their eggs or not.
It's a lot of work in here. No wonder Dorothy wanted to run away.
Yeah.
Aw, Dorothy's roller skates. All right, we're out of Dorothy's house, which was really cool. I enjoyed it. When they originally dragged this house out here in the 80s, that was all there was. That's why there's so many little "the way we used to live" exhibits in there. But later, in the 1990s, they added the land of Oz. And as the tornado heads this way, since the storm cellar's only 4 inches deep, we get to head into another version of Dorothy's room and try to get under cover. Oh my gosh.
As she was heading home, she could tell a storm was on its way, so she started to run as fast as she could. When she finally got home, she had to kick the gate in, and she couldn't find Auntie Em or Uncle Henry anywhere, so she started screaming, "Auntie Em, Uncle Henry, Zeke, Hickory, where are you guys? Where are you?" They weren't anywhere outside, so she decided to look in the house, but that's when the storm began to get worse. "Auntie Em, Uncle Henry, I'm scared. Where are you? I'm scared." Started kicking as hard as she could. "Auntie Em, Uncle Henry, open up, let me in, let me in."
I'm getting scared.
So she went back into her room where she found some shavings. That's when all of a sudden the wind picked up and the window crashed and hit her in the head, and she fell into a very deep sleep. She woke up and they were inside the twister. She was awake. Dorothy was just so scared, she just wanted the storm to end right now. And with a thud, the sky grew light. Would you like to see where we landed?
That was terrifying. Wow. Look at that.
So she looked down at Toto and said said, Toto, I don't think we're in Kansas anymore. Then a beautiful woman appeared next to her. Glinda pointed down at Toto and said, is that the witch? Well, Glinda had told her that the Munchkins informed her a new witch has come to town and dropped her house on the Wicked Witch to the east. There's your house, here you are, and that's all that's left of the Wicked Witch to the east. The Munchkins saw Dorothy as their national hero and wanted to throw a celebration. That's when all of a sudden the Wicked Witch to the west appeared. Who killed my sister? Who killed the witch to the east? Was it you? Dorothy said, well, I didn't mean to. It was just an accident. I swear it was just an accident. The witch said, well, I could cause accidents too. And she walked over to her sister's feet to grab the ruby slippers. But that's when they disappeared off of her feet and appeared on Dorothy's. So she yelled out, get you my pretty and your little dog too. Frightened, Dorothy asked Glinda, how can I get home? How do I get back to Kansas?
Look at all of this. Look at Munchkin Land.
And it is a green exhibit, so a lot of it is recycled materials. So there's a lot of like little things like that.
Not to interrupt her tour, but the amazing thing about all of this is that the Land of Oz was the dream of one lady, Linda K. Edson, who along with her husband and her parents built all of this out of recycled stuff, all DIY, and put it together in a mall in Topeka, Kansas to raise money for a nursing home. Apparently it kept getting rebuilt for 10 years in different spots in Topeka until finally coming here to Liberal, Kansas and Dorothy's house.
And then we had them come out here. I believe they finished in 92.
We've been following the yellow brick road, but we didn't skip. Uh-oh.
Sorry.
Maybe later.
Then she heard a voice behind her.
That way looks nice. And of course that way looks nice too.
Oh my goodness, you can talk?
Yes, I can talk, but I can't get down from this post because I haven't got a brain.
Well, I'm going to see the wizard to see if he could get me home. Maybe he could get you a brain.
Get me down from here and I'll go with you.
Well, I'm kind of busy showing them around. What if I came and got you down later? How does that sound?
Of course, I don't want to hold up your tour. I'll be right here. I'm not going anywhere.
Bye.
So Dorothy went to pick an apple and bam, it slapped her right on her wrist. And they said, well, how would you like someone picking something off of you? And well, she had forgotten she wasn't in Kansas anymore. Well, she doesn't want your apples anyways. They said, well, why not? He said, because they have little green worms in them. And so he started throwing apples at them like a game of dodgeball. As Dorothy was chasing one down, one rolled to the foot of a man made out of tin. At first, he was saying something, and they couldn't tell what. Then they realized he was saying oil can. So Dorothy picked up the oil can and oiled him up, and that's when he had said he'd been standing there rusted for ages. She told him how they were going to see the wizard, and maybe the wizard could give him a heart. And that's when all of a sudden the Wicked Witch of the West appeared.
All in good time, my little pretty. All in good time.
She didn't like that Dorothy had made it this far, or that she had friends along to help her. So that's when she started throwing down fireballs, and Scarecrow was caught on fire. Bears, oh my! Lions and tigers and bears, oh my! And that's when all of a sudden a giant lion jumped out of the forest and started chasing Toto. Dorothy picked Toto up and slapped the lion right on his nose. And to their surprise, he started crying. He said, well, what'd you do that for? I didn't even bite him. So they told him how they were going to see the wizard, and maybe the wizard could give him some courage. He was very scared at first, but then he did decide to join. They then came across a sign that read, Haunted Forest, Witch's Castle, 1 mile. I'd turn back if I were you. Do you want to turn back?
A little bit.
The Wicked Witch was watching them on her crystal ball, but when they came back to save Dorothy, that's when all of a sudden the witch and her soldiers trapped them in the corner, and she set Scarecrow on fire. Dorothy knew she had to do something about it, so she picked up a bucket of water, threw it on Scarecrow, and well, enough landed on him to put the fire out, but the rest landed on the Wicked Witch. And she began to yell, I'm melting, what a world! And went into a puddle.
This is so cool. The green guards were called Winkies?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Winkies are terrifying. That was the scariest part when I was little. Not the monkeys, it was those winky things. Here we go. You're good at walking backwards, holy cow.
Thanks.
Wow! Look at the size of the Emerald City. Holy cow.
So they then approached the Emerald City and rang the doorbell, and a little old man popped out. He said, didn't you see the notice? They said, what notice? He said, the notice, the one on the door, the one as plain as the nose on my face. Being very foolish, she realized he never placed the notice, and it said, bell out of order, please knock. So they knocked, and he came back out and said, that's more like it, state your business. They had told him that they were here to see the wizard. He said, the wizard, no one's ever seen the wizard, even I haven't seen the wizard, and I've lived here my whole life. That's when they had told him that Glinda had sent them and they had the shoes to prove it. So he said, bust my buttons, that's a horse of a different color, and welcomed them in.
Ooh.
To their surprise, there was an actual horse of a different color. They asked the cabbie for a ride to see the wizard, but he said they can't go looking like they did. So instead he took him to the wash and brush up company. The lion got a perm with a pretty red bow. Dorothy had a makeover. The Tin Man got buffed and the Scarecrow got restuffed.
Man, I could use a back rub like that right now. Look at that, the lion's getting a perm from Lucille Ball. We've got to approach the wizard.
I am I, the great and powerful. Who are you?
Justin!
Who are you?
So he asked them who they were, and they told him what they wanted, and he said, come back tomorrow. Very luckily at that moment, Toto went behind the curtain and pulled it back. He's just a little old man. He's very kind at heart, he just wasn't a great wizard. As Dorothy chased after Toto and picked him up, she looked up at the sky and the hot air balloon had already lifted off. And she yelled, please come back for me, please come back, I want to go home.
I can't, I don't know how it works.
Thankfully Glinda appeared, and she told Dorothy she had the power in her all along. And all she had to do was click her heels and say to herself, there's no place like home. So that's what she did.
Wow, now it's time for us to click our heels, which is harder than it looks. 3 times and say, there's no place like home. Ding! And, hey, look at this. It's the Wizard of Oz's outhouse. Dude, what in the world did we just see? That was so cool. All handmade, DIY. I was particularly interested in all the different mannequins. I wanted to get up close and personal with them. It's a good thing the tour isn't self-guided, or I would have been in there for hours. I love just about every kind of roadside attraction there is, including museums and old houses. But the Land of Oz, that was killer. The more handmade something is, the more blown away by it I am. And as you've seen, a lot of stuff here at Dorothy's house in the Land of Oz is very handmade. We passed by it too quickly on the tour, but in front of Dorothy's house is this little, I don't know what you even call this, kind of a gazebo-like thing with this big hand-carved wooden book. That's very interesting right there. Reminds me a little bit of Knott's Berry Farm. This basically explains how Max Zimmerman got an idea, and with Oliver Brown and other trustees of the Seward County Historical Society, they bought this old 1907 house and moved it out here to become Dorothy's house. I don't know if it says in the books which town in Kansas Dorothy lives in, but it doesn't say in the movie. That's what got them started with the idea. You know, if Dorothy's from somewhere in Kansas, why not Liberal? Why can't we be the somewhere? Speaking of somewhere, by the way, if you open these up and push one of these cleverly concealed buttons, it will play Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Or if you press another button, you'll get Follow the Yellow Brick Road. We cannot play the song to you because of the wonderful things he does. And speaking of the Yellow Brick Road, like many roadside attractions that have come after, to fundraise, this place sold custom engraved yellow bricks for the Yellow Brick Road, including to Liza Minnelli, the daughter of Judy Garland, the original Dorothy. I believe Ronald and Nancy Reagan also bought a brick, and our Dorothy showed me where it was, but I cannot remember now. There's also a number of characters with bricks from the Wizard of Oz. Their names are in sort of more of a cursive writing. You know, they tell you to follow the Yellow Brick Road, but which one? They've got yellow brick roads leading in every direction imaginable. Hey, some of these yellow bricks have got handprints and a footprint, and apparently that terrifies our feline friend here. Follow the Yellow Brick Road. Follow the Yellow Brick Road. Huh? I thought I heard a noise. What's that? I'm kind of hard of hearing.
Oil can!
Trash can? There's one over there.
No, not trash can! Oil can!
There's that thing in the movie where they link arms and they're skipping through the Yellow Brick Road, and then the Scarecrow clicks his heels up in the air. I always loved doing that when I was a kid. I was good at it. I don't know if I can still get away with it. I kind of got myself in the leg on that one. Ugh. Gotta wind up. Skip. Get my loo. I think I did it.
2 out of 10!
Be quiet, Tin Man. Ooh, I have so much fun skipping down the Yellow Brick Road. I almost forgot to tell you guys about the special feature right next door to the Land of Oz. They've got a playground out here, and it's called Munchkin Land. And look at this, it is actually Wizard of Oz themed. They've got a flying monkey. Can you find your way to the Emerald City of Oz? Can and have. And built-in fun pick opportunities right on the bottom. But wait a minute, shouldn't they be up there It says somewhere over the rainbow, not somewhere under the rainbow. Somewhere under the rainbow, way down here. Sing it, Julio! You have a beautiful voice. Not gonna lie, I am strongly tempted to wait around here until after 3 p.m. when the other Dorothy shows up and get a fun pic with her. But it's time for us to be moving along from the land of Oz back to the Old West. I gotta come back to this place though someday because Allie loves the Wizard of Oz. Dude, I thought we were never gonna be able to leave because it was so hard to pry Julio away from Munchkin Land. Kansas, wonderful Kansas, rolling through Kansas over the plains. It's interesting to see the landscape change from Dust Bowl desert to corn and fields and fertile farmland. See, we think of the desert areas as being the Old West because it was the most recent Old West, but once upon a time, Kansas was the wild Old West. And there's one town in particular out here that used to be the wildest of them all, a town I've never been to before. That I would be remiss if I didn't make my huckleberry today. At last, welcome my friends to Dodge City, the queen of the cowtowns. Just like all the prairie we've been rolling through for the last couple of days here in western Kansas, there was a whole lot of nothing out this way back in the day until the railroad came to town. To make a longhorn story short, 2 things happened. 1, the railroad was expanding westward across Kansas, and 2, Kansans farther east on the Chisholm Trail decided to quarantine Texas longhorns and push them away from their centers of cultivation to avoid their bringing any diseases and infecting the local cattle. And so the Great Western Cattle Trail was established, where untold thousands of Texas longhorns and other cattle were driven all the way up here to Dodge City in huge herds by hundreds of cowboys who would then get to town, sell off their cattle for shipment by rail back east, and then want to blow off a bunch of steam. This is where all those cowboys would finally get paid, and before making that long ride back down south along the old dusty trail, would blow their whole paychecks here gambling, carousing, seeking female company, eat, drink, and make merry, mostly over here on the old Front Street. Now, of course, Dodge City of today looks nothing like the Dodge City of that time period. Those old 1870s wooden cow towns had a tendency to burn down every once in a while. So like everywhere else, basically, in the West, Dodge City has been rebuilt in glorious brick. But this is the general neighborhood where, starting in 1875, I believe, the cowboys would come with those massive cattle herds and drink and carouse. But of course, as with any wild western outpost, eventually civilization caught up and the town began to grow with full-time residents who didn't appreciate all the wild activity down by the tracks. And so the police force was established to keep the cowboy element in check, a police force that was comprised of some of the most famous lawman names in the West, like Ed and Bat Masterson, and maybe most famous of all, Wyatt Earp. Those famous lawmen established something called a deadline. South of the deadline, you could kind of do whatever you want. You could drink, you could gamble, you could visit women of the evening. But off Front Street, north of the deadline, you were meant to shut up, respect curfew, respect the citizenry, and keep your gambling and gunfighting to yourself. The book Wyatt Earp, Frontier Marshal, which caused a sensation and established a whole legacy of Wyatt Earp, a somewhat fictionalized memoir written by Stuart Lake, but it's still a fun read, goes into a lot of detail about Dodge City. And of course, I've read that and countless other Western books about Wyatt Earp, about Bat Masterson, and his brother Ed, who was killed on duty out here. This is actually my very first visit to the town. Of course, it's a little disappointing that Front Street doesn't look quite like this anymore, but it's still exciting to walk around the scenes of Wyatt Earp's early pre-Tombstone exploits. And of course, all is not lost because of the massive popularity of Wyatt Earp and then later shows like Gunsmoke. Dodge City began cultivating tourists rather than cowboys. And they very wisely decided that most tourists weren't coming here to take a selfie with their local Pizza Hut and built themselves an epic attraction, the Boot Hill Museum, which among its other tantalizing treasures also offers a recreation of Dodge City as it was behind it. So I cannot wait to get inside and check it out. The museum starts off like many other museums with a little bit of Native American history, and then we get into the cowboy years. Dude, look at the size of this freight wagon. Take a shot to learn about George Hoover. Don't mind if I do.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Hoover's Saloon.
Thank you.
Finest watering hole in Buffalo City.
This is the guy who set up the first canvas tent saloon over here exactly 5 miles away from Fort Dodge with 2 whiskey barrels and some boards for a bar and offered you all the finest drinks of the world as long as they were whiskey. Apparently, originally the settlement was called Buffalo City because, of course, people were shooting the buffalo and shipping the hides back even before the cattle got here. Look at some of these early buildings. This is the way Dodge City looked back in the day. See, this is what they were after in Buffalo City. Buffalo hides to make things like buffalo hide coats out of. They could use the horns and bones for other stuff, but that mostly came later when bone pickers would find all the piles of discarded bones that the coat hunters took, or rather, left behind. What is going on in here? Stampede!
It's the rumble on the prairie.
Note to the audience, don't anger the buffalo. Ooh, look at this, buffalo grumpies. The sign says pick up the poop to find all the ways you can use it. I don't really want to pick up the poop, but ooh, there's a fun fact underneath. This one says wood was scarce on the prairie and you could use dried buffalo dung for fuel for fires. Ooh, there's more fun facts. This one says Plains Indians used dried powdered buffalo poop to clean their teeth. Original Colgate. That was before the white devil got here. Ooh, there's a bunch of poop facts in here. And look, a fun gun for the kids. Still works. Look at all those different types of guns. Ooh, they even have the Illuminati model. Of course, Dodge City really began to pick up steam with the railroad era, but look at this. Before we get to that, there's a fun 1/4 of a stagecoach that we can sit in. Sitting. Fun. It's pretty cool because a lot of these exhibits are interactive, like Harry Potter World. You can push various buttons and then different characters will appear and talk to you. Like this one's talking about the Harvey girls. That big brick railroad building we were near earlier, by the way, was the old Harvey house in town. Wait a minute. What does this do? Oh, it starts the little model train up there. Sweet. Now we're getting into the thick of it. The history of the American cattle trails and the cowboys. Look at this, they got cowboy tools, cowboy cooking, and branding irons for days. Of course, all the real trouble started when the farmers and townies started moving in. And back then, the farmers and the cowboys could not be friends. Mostly because them high-toned townies were hiring the lawmen to keep the cowboys under control. Ooh, look at that. That's how I imagine Wyatt Earp would dress. Except I don't imagine him playing golf. Guess there's a lot I don't know about Wyatt Earp. Here we go. Law and Order. Look at this. There's Bat Masterson, Wyatt Earp, Luke Short. Who's this over here? Bill Tillman, James Dog Kelly. These are famous names to Western fans. Of course, fictional versions of them have been in all kinds of movies and TV shows. Oh, there's good old Ed Masterson, killed in the line of duty, and Dora Hand, accidentally killed by James Kennedy, who Wyatt Earp later went to hunt down. Oh, look at this. We got the wild world of the saloon. And just look at all them dancing girls. People often talk about houses of ill repute in Western towns, but mainly the cowboys were visiting dance halls and hurdy-gurdy houses with lots and lots of risque dancing. They were also doing a heck of a lot of gambling. Look at that old roulette wheel. It's huge. Oh, here's another exhibit. We might see one of them risque ladies. A singer. Sweet. That would be a welcome sight after months on the trail looking at the cowboy's horse's butt in front of you. I wonder if this is supposed to be Dora Hand. No time to find out. We've got a lot more museum to see, and it's closing up pretty soon, but just real quick. Pour me another drink, barkeep. Snake oil and Yukon Jack. Whoa, here's something you never think about. Snow in Dodge City. Snow and fire. See, I told you, that's what happened to the old Front Street. Oh boy, we've now entered the Founders Room in Dodge City, which feels a little bit like the Haunted Mansion due to all the portraits. Portraits? Which can... What you have here is Alonzo Webster, Wyatt Earp, Bat Masterson, and Chalkley Beeson, all telling old-school Dodge City stories to each other.
Quit Dodge for good. Well, Dodge not long after that business of that singer that was gunned down.
Dora Hand.
Honestly, this is pretty epic. This is not what I was expecting in here.
I think I'm done with the law. After that business out west. Yeah, I think about setting up and dealing again. It's good money in Prairie.
All right, all of this was good, but none of it is what I came for. I came for what's up here. Oh, holy buffalo chips. Would you look at all of this? Now this is Dodge City. After all that time on the way here herding cattle, I'm ready to be outfitted and visit the saloon, get me some cigars, a fine new set of clothes, and hey, I might even get my tonsils out, finally. Oh, this is awesome. I just wish I had some boots and spurs to jangle on the wooden sidewalk. Dude, this is sick. And the best part is, it isn't just a bunch of false fronts. You can actually go inside a bunch of these buildings. Holy cow, it's an actual store inside. I was not expecting that. Can't remember the last place I went into that you could purchase bonnets. And then you've got stick candy and rag dolls. Even an old historic crate they used to bring green bananas up from South America. Dude, if this is in here, what else is over here? Let's see what's in the Long Branch Saloon. I think the original Long Branch at one point was owned by Luke Short, who was getting pushed out of town. That's why Wyatt Earp and Bat Masterson came back here in what was called the Dodge City War, where not a shot was fired, but to help out their buddy Luke Short.
Let's see if old Luke is still home.
Yep, there he is. Dude, look at this. Look at the size of this. Way bigger than the original Long Branch Saloon. I was not expecting this. Sort of reminds me of Disneyland Paris somehow. Oh, and this doesn't hurt. Remember that from the Phantom Manor? Oh my gosh, they are actually serving drinks in here. Oh yeah, get me a sarsaparilla. Now all I need to do is spit in the spittoon.
What's that?
I said now all I need to do is spit in the spittoon. And then I've done it all.
That's a mighty fine sarsaparilla, let me tell you.
Look at this from the saloon. You can enter some of the other buildings, like the cigar store over here.
There's a hefty load of tobacco in these parts.
Oh, look at this. These shot glasses and these cards are from the original Long Branch. And there's some other original stuff in here. If you get too hooked on smoking Little Tom cigars, they've got the Keeley remedy for the tobacco habit. Before any of you think about scolding me for eating and drinking in here, the barkeep is the one that gave me the permission. Said the sign is mostly for when there's lots of little ones running around. This reminds me of that scene in Anne of Green Gables where Matthew comes to buy the dress with puffed sleeves. Ooh, and look at this. We got a window onto the tonsorial parlor over here. Nice shave and a haircut. Tonsils out. Barbers were often the local dentist, surgeon, leechers, put leeches on you. That's why I like that Allie cuts my hair at home. I don't want any leeches on me. Oh my word. More guns. Ooh, there's a nice gun. Couple good guns over there. They've got long guns, short guns, other long guns, other short guns, sneaky guns,
And even some sheriff
guns. Now, I don't have a lot of time. Like I said, the museum is closing in just a little while. But all kidding aside, I'm sure that some of these are indeed historic guns. Like this one thought to be owned by Clay Allison. So I'm looking forward to coming back one day when I have a little more time to read all the signs. Hey, look at this. We got an old-timey Dodge City gunfight going on in here, actually. In most real gunfights in the West, people didn't square off like this in the streets. Most of them would erupt suddenly, violently, and be over in a few quick seconds.
Yeah, like some kind of bad date. That's funny, pard. You know what? Why don't we shake hands? Heck no, you've been picking up buffalo poop to see fun facts.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, pard. Break it up, you two. Look at this. We have a display about the Rice Brothers saddlery. All kinds of old Western tools and barbed wire. This is awesome.
I'd buy some tools myself if I wasn't so sarsaparilla. This is a strong one.
Ooh, handcuffs. Nice. At this point, I've totally lost track of which facade I'm inside of. I think this here must be the drugstore. There's a box that says female remedy over there, and look at all these potions. It's poison. Poison, Mr. Grauer. I know you didn't mean to do it. Just check, see? See, I know you're upset. Ooh, check it out. If you get too many drugs from the drugstore, you could end up right in here in the old calaboose. This is where Wyatt Earp used to lock people up after buffaloing them, which means to hit them on the head with his revolver. Look at this. This belonged to a Dodge City marshal named John Madden. I don't think any relation to the football guy. And here's one. One's owned by Dave Mather, who killed a marshal, I believe. He might have even killed more than that. Look at the notches.
He was a bad man.
All right, let's bust out of here. This is awesome. You got the print shop, the cowboy band display, another even more accurate saloon setup. Some of the saloons here were awfully fancy because the railroad was here, so you could ship things like those huge mirrors behind the bar and get theretofore unheard of things in the West, like fine furniture, musical instruments, custom-built gambling tables, and much, much more. But of course, we're still talking about the olden days, so some things were still made on the spot. Like your casket, for example. What a fun one. Ooh, there's the first exterior door I've seen in a while. Let's see what building we're in. Ah, we were in here. Man, we came a long way down. Didn't have time to properly digest the photo studio or the salt and pepper shaker display or the post office or the old bank or the cobbler. But that's all right. I'm just happy that I made it out here today at all. Dude, there's a restaurant and some ice cream and an old-timey photo parlor, which are closed at the moment, but I presume open on the more popular weekends. I almost said weekdays. I guess you could come on a popular weekday. But check this out. This is exciting. Past the row of recreated buildings and all the galleries inside are a couple of original buildings that they dragged out here to the property for visitors like me. They've got an old original blacksmith and wheelwright office, which if you think about all those wooden wagon wheels and all that rough terrain they had to cross, certainly must have been big business back then, not to mention the horseshoeing that you would have needed to do. Ooh, somebody forgot their hammer. And a crowbar. Wyatt Earp's original crowbar. Ah. Bat Masterson's hammer. This gorgeous Victorian house over here, which as old as it is, has really nice air conditioning. Apparently was once lived in by a local family. Wow. People always talk about how it was hard living in the old times, and I'm sure it was, especially before antibiotics. But every once in a while, you come to an old school place like this and think, might not have been too bad to live in the olden times, at least if you were rich. Nah, I take it back. I'd rather have indoor plumbing. Toilets, like antibiotics, are wonderful things. Last but not least, I believe this old church is also an historic building. Not sure about the old outhouse outside, which is no longer functional, but check this out. Is quite spacious. You even have room for a neighbor.
Now that's what I call fellowship.
All right, that was awesome. There's a Boot Hill Cemetery here, of course, but it's closed right now, I think, to be remodeled. I did see it over the fence a little bit. Whew, and it was up a pretty steep little hill. They're almost gonna have to bury me in the Boot Hill Cemetery. I forgot my heart medication today. I think it's closed because of some of the construction and restoration work they're doing out here. Oh, look at this! We got a beer bottle! There's still a couple of wild cowboys in Dodge City. Luckily, the climb up the hill wasn't all wasted. We got the Kansas Teachers Hall of Fame behind me and the famous Gunfighters Wax Museum, which is closed. Oh man, now I'll never learn about all those famous Kansas teachers. Oh, just one more reason to come back. Oh, an old-timey town with some hills overlooking a river. Reminds me of something, of a place I've wanted to get back to for several years. And you know what? If I'm ever gonna get to do it, then I'm probably gonna have to get the heck out of Dodge. Ooh, I've always wanted to say that. Of course, first I'm gonna have to find my friend Julio. We split up earlier. I'm not sure where he went. But you know what? I might have an idea. I'm not prone to gambling, but Julio is, and there's one gambler in Dodge City I know he's probably been dying to try his skills against. Ah, yes, here he is, and with none other than Doc Holliday. What's going on, fellas? What are we playing? Poker? Are we playing for hooch? Are we playing for cigars? What's the deal, Doc?
We're not playing poker. Your friend here has too good of a poker face. Say that to me again, Julio, and we'll play for blood, remember?
All right, Doc. Okay, come on, Julio. Let's get the heck out of here. Time for us to get out of one Dodge and into another. Thanks for rolling with me from the land of Oz to Dodge City, my friends. I don't want you to miss the rest of the trip, so please subscribe if you haven't already. Or more importantly, make sure you're still subscribed and turn on that little bell, the ring. Smash the like, ring the bell, leave a comment, you know, all that stuff. We do have sick merch being restocked in our online store, .randomland.com. And of course, lots of other stuff on Patreon, etc. So, like I say, links down below. Kansas. Whew, that's so much to do. It's giving me a sore back. That and the van is running a little wild, so I think I may be heading to a friend's house who is not just a mechanic, but also has a nice couch to sit on instead of this hard leather chair. Julia, why can't you ever sit in a seat? What are you, an animal? Anyway, we're gonna hit the road, my friends. We got a lot of miles to cover across the prairie still. I hope you had fun. For now, you've done your duty. You can go home and sleep well. I might get it.
And then this was the original house used in the film for the tornado scene.
Really, the model?
Yeah, and for the tornado scene, they put it up on a ladder and dropped it and filmed from underneath. And then in the film, they just reversed the tape so it looked like it was flying up.
Yes, I am.